by Dana Platin. Dana is a former senior executive with USDA who has spent years working alongside states to strengthen SNAP operations, helping agencies turn corrective action plans into true leadership tools. She's an incredible human being, a former federal colleague of mine, and a dear friend who is joining me to talk about corrective action plans. Dana, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Guidehouse. I'm thrilled to be here and to talk about this topic about corrective action plans, which are general compliance and oversight tools.
Dana, why does the way leaders approach corrective action plans matter so much for performance and accountability?
Yeah, it's a good one. Because a corrective action plan, when used correctly, it serves as the foundation for how an organization addresses its key deficiencies and sets priorities for the year to come. And I have found those visionary leaders, they use it to guide their organization and align teams around shared goals, clarifying responsibilities, and focusing on the highest impact improvements. And it's not the document itself that drives the results, it's how the leaders leverage it to create clarity, to reinforce accountability, and to build a culture of continuous improvement.
And that's exactly where the gap shows up between organizations that treat a corrective action plan as a requirement and those organizations that use it as a management tool. When corrective action plans are used really well, what does that look like in practice and what impact does it have on an organization?
Yeah. So, from my experience, when a corrective action plan, when they're used really well, you're going to see alignment and clarity almost immediately. And the most effective plans are actually pretty simple. You'll see a clear problem, clear root cause, clear action, and a clear way to measure success. And those plans focus on like a small number of high impact issues with clear ownership and follow through. So basically, who will do what by when and how will we know? And over time, that approach creates a culture where teams are focused on results, not just activities. And the corrective action plan becomes less like a report and more like a playbook because people actually use it.
Love the term playbook. And when you see those elements consistently in place, the difference in execution and outcomes becomes unmistakable. A third question, Dana, what do leaders do differently to turn a corrective action plan into a tool for driving performance and accountability?
Yeah, it's a good one. I'd say discipline leaders, they stay engaged. They don't delegate the corrective action plan and simply step away. They push for real root cause, not surface level explanations. And that's where I've seen the biggest gaps, like organizations identifying symptoms instead of what's actually driving performance. And in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, from my experience, we've seen things like workload design or system limitations or inconsistent supervision models that are often your real issues. And I also want to add, I've seen like really solid servant leaders. They know to bring the right people to the table, those key players who are closest to the work, all from different departments, to get their perspective and ideas on both the problems and potential solutions. So, again, in the SNAP space, that might mean eligibility workers, quality control staff, quality assurance teams, operations, and leadership all collaborating to create shared ownership and a shared definition of success. And I think more or most importantly, these leaders, they build routines, they revisit their corrective action plans, they look at the data and they adjust along the way. That consistency is what drives behavior change, and that's what ultimately changes the culture as well.
You're exactly right. When leaders consistently show up in that way, accountability stops being episodic and it becomes part of how the organization operates. How can leaders use the corrective action plan process to align their teams, prioritize their work, and advocate for what their organization needs?
Yeah, again, from my past experience, a corrective action plan, a really good one, it's going to tell a clear story. It connects the challenge to that root cause and what actually needs to change. And leaders can align their teams intentionally around priorities and expectations, and it'll create clarity on what matters and what does not. It's also a powerful tool externally. I've seen transformational leaders use these compliance tools, these corrective action plans, to advocate within like a state governor's office for resources, for staffing, for system change, for policy clarity, because they can clearly show what's driving performance and what's needed to fix it. So it becomes not just an operational tool, but a strategic one.
That dual role is really powerful when they're aligning their teams around the work while giving leaders a credible case for what needs to change. And you and I are both data lovers, so we love those metrics that are infused into the corrective action plans. We're going to move into a quick lightning round, 3 rapid insights from your past experience. What's one behavior you see in organizations that truly have a culture of accountability?
It's a good one. I think the big one for me is simple. It's they follow through. They don't just create plans, they revisit them, they track progress, and they hold themselves accountable for results. There's a consistency in how strategic and values-driven leaders show up, and over time, that's what builds that trust and drives performance.
What is one mistake that leaders make when trying to improve performance, and how do high-performing leaders approach that differently?
Yeah, I think the big mistake, and I own this as well, is trying to do too much. And when everything is a priority, nothing is. And disciplined leaders, they focus on small numbers of high impact issues. They assign clear ownership and they stay disciplined about execution.
How should leaders think about our favorite thing, metrics, so that they actually drive accountability?
Yeah, it's a good one too. I think, metrics are how you know if what you're doing is actually working. So without those metrics, a plan is just intention. And leaders define success up front. They track progress consistently and they use that data to adjust.
Dana, thank you so much for sharing these incredible insights. And for those of you watching, corrective action plans can be a roadmap for leadership to improve performance. Keep doing the good work, my friends.
Thank you, Stephanie.